Hi, hello, my lovely jack lanterns, and welcome to another live stream where today we will be doing the Siren's Call chapter. I think it's what 14 and 15. So, yeah, this won't even be an hour stream. It's gonna be pretty short. So, if you want to know what's happening so far, just happening in these chapters, just read the description in the stream. But if not, and if you're confused on what's happening right now, just go back and look at the other streams in my sea shanty live stream playlist on my channel to catch up to know what's happening. So this one will probably be a 45-ish minute, stream. It won't be super long because I have some special attendance to be doing later this eve. So thank you guys for joining. I'm very, very excited to get this going, and I will be doing a stream tomorrow as well. So we are on. I forgot the fucking book. Hold on. Okay. All right. Hold on, guys. I got the book. So, yeah. One sec. I'm so sorry. Does the chat work? Okay. You scare me there, hon. Okay, cool. So we're on chapter 14 and 15. Very, very exciting. So so technically, yeah, we are in part 8. We are a band of ye privateers. I think it's, actually, look at this. We are a band of ye privateers, yeah. So we're on page 373. So yeah, it's getting very, very intense, guys. Very, very intense. They just escaped the colony of Denmark, but now Marquis is a little pissed at them because they lied to him about not, searching for the mermaid. So it's pretty, pretty crazy, very, very crazy. So we'll start it in just one sec. I'm glad you guys are joining because this is one of my favorite sections in the book as well, other than the escape scene, which is badass. But yeah, and we'll continue with chapter 16 tomorrow. Just one sec, guys. Okay. Oh yeah, by the way, I got my cat with me, but I'm not gonna move her because she's asleep. One sec, I gotta mute myself. I'm sorry, I feel like the stream is kind of discombobulated. Sorry about that, just one sec. You guys went on the street. You want to see the doggy on the stream? Oh wait, there's Hella. Look at the puppers. So cute. So cute. Yeah, that's my girlfriend and the puppy. So yeah, very, very adorable. Her name is Hella, and she's only like a month old. So she's very, very old. I mean, young, not old. But she's adorable. But she's a little ornery. She like nips at everything and chews at everything. So we gotta be careful with her. So yeah. All right, guys. Let's get into it. So we're on part 8. We're a band of ye privateers on chapter 14, November 1680, on the ship of a golden bow. So guys, let's get into it. Very, very, very exciting. Let me turn it up. Let's get the volume up. and I am ready to start this. I'm sorry if the introduction was a little discombobulated. My mind is just kind of mush today. I'm just tired. But just to let you know, if you don't understand what's happening up to this point, just go watch the other previous streams of the story to catch up to what's happening. Now let's get into it. So we're at chapter 14, guys.
I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My own true love, Rita Hogan, standing before my eyes after almost 3 years. My heart thumped loudly inside my chest. For a second, it took me a minute to realize that she was actually here in the flesh. Tim tipped his hat. "Evening, my lady." Rita bowed to Tim and eyed me smiling, and tears adorned her eyes. "Oh, Henry!" She ran to me with her blue dress fluttering, flying behind her, and flew into my arms. She plopped into my arms and sobbed furiously with tears of joy. Her long brown hair was neatly combed straight, and her emerald green eyes stared into mine. Without thinking, she kissed me passionately, both our lips curling on one another, our kiss filled with such passion for our love. After the kiss, we released lips, and the whole crew, Marquis, stared at us for a second in blank still, and then she looked into my eyes. "I missed you," she whispered, smiling. "I missed you so much. But tell me, how are you here? How did you get here?" I asked, amazed. She pulled away from my arms and stood beside me, gripping my hand, as Daniel now held me up from the weight of my dog bite, for it had gotten worse by the time we had reached the ship and set sail. "So you got your keys. Satisfied? Now, Henry, you better explain to me what the hell is going on here," Marquis asked sternly with his pistol aimed at my head. All of my mates looked nervously around the ship at the 100 weapons aimed at our bellies. The golden bow rocked forward into the crystal ocean waves ahead. Brita still clung to my hand, with Timothy, Daniel, Finn, Kat, and Jeb behind me, surrounded as the helmsman guarded the ship. I put my left hand up as if swearing an oath. "Marquis, I know you're angry, but can you please disarm your men?" "Yes, I don't want my man killed before me, please. Let's talk about this like civilized men," Brita said. Marquis hesitated, with Cortez standing behind him, his hand on his hilt, as if unsure to pull the blade out. The Frenchman eased up and pulled back the carcon and put his muzzled pistol to his belt. His crew dismantled their muskets and slipped their swords back into the holes. I bowed slightly in respect. Brita bowed the same, gripping the edges of her blue dress and bowing her head down. "How did you get here?" I asked. "I was the cause of that," Marquis said. "After we left port in Denmark, thinking you were set on your ways, apparently not, we sailed to the Cape of Africa and secured that golden treasure at Elephant Lagoon like we talked about. I left half of the treasure there and only took the half on my ship. Now my ship's hold is full of glittering gems and emeralds. After that, we knew you hadn't seen your love in almost 3 years, and when you were aboard my ship, I heard you speak of her to Daniel and Tim, and that you missed her, so we sailed to Norway and picked her up. I'm a rich capitan, and knowing that now, other ships are going to want to plunder my ship, and I can't let that happen. Spit the rest of your story truthfully now in front of me, Cortez, and the whole crew present on this deck. I helped you get to Denmark, and even though it didn't turn out how you wanted, you still got your letter, and we got 5 more to go. I need to know if you and your mates are with me, Henry." I swallowed slightly. I turned to Brita. "Where are you staying on the ship?" "I'm in your room with you, of course, my sweet. Marquis was gladly accepting to me on his ship, and he told me the situation you were in and filled me in on the details, so I know what's going on," Brita said. I smiled at her and looked at Daniel, Tim, Finn, Jeb, and Carl. "Tell him the truth," Daniel added. I faced Marquis, his brows squinting in fury. "We told you the truth about Baggins, and we killed him and we were framed as outlaws. The reason we were not only captured that we were seeking in Madagascar was to find a mermaid." "A mermaid?" Marquis scoffed. "Now, I know what you're thinking, Frenchman, but we have seen her with our own eyes and captured her," Dan added. "Baggins captured us and took her aboard. We fled and we were planning to flee with her, but she escaped and left us to die," Tim said. "After we left the burning ship, we made a vow to find her and bring her back to London to claim a gold for the discovery of such a creature. It's our captain's dying wish, where he searched all his life for the mythical being," I continued. We have to do this. Marquis sat back against his ship rim, with Cortez thinking it over. He jabbed his finger at my friends behind me. I'm assuming they know it all. We do. Finn spoke for all of us. We're with Henry and want to help him find this mermaid and get the gold along with him. Millions, Captain, in gold and untold riches. The question is, are you with us? If not, well, we got Henry's back. Jeb grinned. How do I know I'm supposed to trust a bunch of pirates? Marquis asked. I looked around at my friends. Then we all smiled. I know how we can make you trust us. Unless you know what it is to be a pirate, I said. What are you talking about? Marquis asked. Daniel grinned widely. In the form of song.
They can't. So basically, this part of the audiobook, this part is not in the book. I'm gonna preference you this. Daniel does not say, "We will explain this to you in the form of a song." That doesn't happen in the book. But I wanted to do it in the audiobook because I just thought it was kind of funny. I don't know why. But yeah, so it's just in the audiobook. Exclusive.
What? Marquis asked.
Yes.
I also wanted an excuse to play this song because I really like this song. So that's pretty much why I put it in.
Charlie was thinking one day he was his friend. And through all the time, just the soul made him sick. And when we were plundering a rich merchant ship, he ran into hiding, grappling his neck.
But sealants can go on the weakest of lads. It turned out some talent in fencing I had. But once I was born for the pirate trade, I'd be the first to dive into the fray. We are your band pirateers, we are King Charlie's focus, your sailors been scared. We are your band pirateers, we'll be hung by the neck if they're bring us the steer. We rolled all over the seven seas, we plundered wherever their riches may be. From the coast up to Tonga, to the shores of Cape Horn, we looted and pillaged both Moor and Moose.
Marie's cousin Siren, father of Frenchman, and Johnny, the more vicious pirate become.
A wonder with the laddies, so fearful and brave. I have lost to the rank of first mates. We are your band pirateers, we are King Charlie's rovers, your sailors dismayed. We are your band pirateers, we'll be hung by the neck if they bring us the steer.
It seemed so good, has come to an end, and Charlie, the heir from England, was sent. It turned out that rascal was truly our king. Returned from his exile, new friend and friend.
I gave them a blessing to roll, and I said, hey, here's the major, in all Ukraine. But back home to England, you cannot return. For you, the stock of the earth I had turned. We are your band pirateers, we are King Charlie's rovers, your sailors dismayed. We are your band pirateers, we'll be hung by the neck if they bring us to stay. We are your band pirateers, we are King Charlie's rovers, your sailors dismayed. We are your band pirateers, we'll be hung by the neck if they bring us to stay. We are your band pirateers, we are King Charlie's rovers, your sailors dismayed. We are your band pirateers, we'll be hung by the neck if they bring us to stay.
Marquis and Cortez and almost half the damn crew stood there in shock for our little performance. But then they realized from this song that what a pirate means. I know it's hard for you to trust us, but we need to do this, Marquis. Do we have a deal? You help us search for her, find her, bring her back to London, and I'll cut your price, I said. I slowly watched them all place their hands on their hilts. I grinned under my cap, knowing I may just have found my crew. Brita stayed by my side, holding my right hand. Marquis continued to lean, thinking, and stood back up and walked up to me and stuck out his hand. Now, I don't appreciate when you lie to me, but I know you're a good man, and I'm willing to help as long as I get a cut of those gems to drink all the wine I can. He grinned. I grinned back, shaking his hand firmly. He let go and he pushed his captain's cap up a bit to let some of his hair flow down from his head. We still have the other letters to get, yes? He asked. Aye, I said. We must get these off our heads before we can search for her. Still in? I asked. I'm in. First stop? He asked. Portugal, Tim said. All right. Set sail for Portugal, gentlemen. We must beat this winter wind and sail happily to Spain. Let out more sail. We must get this man to Spain. Let go your rudders. Let's go, you ruddering scallywags. Marquis cackled as his crewmen draped across the deck to the stations. Marquis took his place back to the wheel with Cortez, helping him read the chart as we sailed ahead into the sun. I took a sigh of relief and rested my hands on the wood of the rim of the ship. Daniel and Tim followed over with Brita and Finn. Kai joined some of the other slaves, helping them pull the cannons to the holders and jump off to help read the charts with Cortez. A mermaid, my dear. Why didn't you tell me when we were in Norway? She protested. I faced my darling, knowing she was a little upset with me for not telling her everything. But then again, we didn't know till Ireland, when Captain Samuel revealed it to us in the tavern. We didn't know until we hit Ireland, and our captain told us all about it. I should have sent you a letter. I'm very sorry, my darling. I wanted to keep you out of danger. Marquis filled you in on everything, yes? I asked. He did. I understand. Please, my love, let's not keep secrets from each other. She begged. Oh, hello. I looked into her emerald eyes and grinned. I promise I won't. We kissed over the November salty wind as the ship roared into the waves. We let go from the kiss, and Daniel leaned his back against the rim and lit his wooden pipe. Smoke flurried out at the top. I'd say you were in for a treat, my miss. Marquis has an excellent staff of cooking aboard. Daniel grinned, happy to be back for the food and wine. Aye, he's a fine cook too, Tim noted. You must be Henry's lady, Finn asked. I am, Brita said. Finn Inkspell, pleasure to meet you. You as well, Finn, Brita nodded. Might I say, Henry here, one hell of a pirate. He took out 3 carriages and a whole brigade. Finn laughed, wrapping his arm around me. Oh, I only took out 1. I sniggered. But it was spectacular, Finn cheered. Brita looked at me with pleasure and love, but also interest. Do tell me, will you discuss what happened while you were enslaved in the colony? My smile faded, and Brita was worried she offended me. Did I say something wrong? No. Just it's hard to discuss. I promise we will talk about it later on, I said. Okay, my love. She smiled and kissed me with such passion. I kept my arm around her waist as we continued to sail. Spain it is. Get ready, lads, Daniel said. I was happy we were back on Marquis' fabulous French frigate, sailing together in flying colours, onto the first letter of mark. The crew worked vigorously in the fall cold wind, flapping out the red and black sails, rubbing the decks with water and soap, and drawing the muskets. I felt proud of the crew I had brought together, and even though we lost a few along the way, they will live on in our hearts and will not be forgotten. One thing is for sure, I don't ever want to get on Marquis' bad side again.
That was chapter 14, on to chapter 15. December 25th, 1680, Christmas, en route to Portugal, Spain.
It was Christmas. Snow flurried down from the skies as we continued to sail on ahead to the Spain, in good health and attitude. The winter wind was bitter and unforgiving as we walked on the deck with the crew, whipping out our scarf-covered faces and our leather caps atop our heads. Snow and icicles clung to the sides of the ship, for the ocean dropped to a freezing temperature as some ice caps bobbed in the sea alongside of the boat. Frost clung to our beards and hair as we worked. Christmas on a ship is a little bit different than Christmas in the town. The ship was adorned with lantern lights, and we used flowers of red, blue, and green to give it various colors attached to the mastheads in the night. Everything was going as planned, and we were sailing to Spain and making great time. Me and Brita got to speak and catch up over the last month on the ship, and we would snuggle under the warm sheets from the winter cove in the evenings after meals. Tim was reunited with Eleanor, and Anastasia was happy to see me and meet Brita. Over the course of this winter, following into the new year, I got to spend a lot of time with Jeb and Finn, getting to know them more, and the more we spoke, the more I admired them both for the men they are. Tonight, me, Daniel, Tim, Brita, and Eleanor were getting ready for dinner with Marquis in his captain's cabin, along with Finn, Jeb, and Carr. Finn, Jeb, and Carr had their own separate room from mine and my mates. Marquis had given us the same room from when we previously had stayed on this ship, and quite frankly, I missed it some. It was a warm and cozy room in the winter, and was wide and big for a few guests to stay inside. Eleanor slept with Tim and Brita with me, while Daniel got his own bed, and Anastasia slept in here with us as well on another small bed brought in by one of the ship's slaves. Eleanor and Brita got along swimmingly, along with Anastasia as well, chatting about medicines and herbal enchantments along with music invocations. Brita had packed her own set of clothing and brought her lute along with her when Marquis had fetched her in Norway. For the dinner tonight, I was wearing a smooth white shirt and over that a long, warm, tan trench coat made of bearskin. My skinny white pants were soft, and Brita helped me wrap the red scarf around my neck and tucked it under my shirt. I had slipped my brown hair into a bun at the back of my head. Brita looked like a goddess. She wore a flowing purple and white dress with scarlet linings around the waistline. Her black slippers were flat, and her long red hair was braided in the back, stretching down to her lower back. The opening of her dress at the neckline showed a bit of cleavage, which made my penis get large, but I had to keep it down for later. Her emerald eyes sparkled into mine, and golden circle earrings dangled at her earlobes. "You look beautiful, my love," I smiled. "And Merry Christmas." "And you look handsome. Merry Christmas, my darling." Brita smiled, and I took her hand and twirled her around, making her laugh delightfully, and swing into my arms and kiss my cheek. "Where did you get that dress?" I asked curiously. "I bought it in a clothing store near the tavern where we met," she said. "It fits you perfectly," I said. She smiled and bowed to me. "This better be a fucking merry of a jolly Christmas served with wine," Daniel said, fixing his long black hair to where it curled at the ends to his neck. "Why wouldn't it be jolly? Of course there'll be wine," I snickered. "I love wine, lad. We've had a hard few months. Let's celebrate breaking free from it," he said.
So when he says like I love wine and stuff, that's like throughout the stream though, that's hints that he is becoming an alcoholic type of thing.
I could tell Daniel was having a hard time getting over our enslavement in Denmark, but to be honest, we all were. And it changed us as men and shaped our characters drastically. "There'll be plenty of wine," Tim said. "Oh, I know that. Marquis will be sure of that," Daniel said. Daniel was dressed in a royal blue shirt with no overcoat, and his shirt was tight, and I was worried it would split off him. His tan pants were long and white, and his boots were shined clean. His thick black beard went with his look. He had trouble tying a neck cloth to his undercollar. "Fucking thing that I can't tie." "Here, let me," Brita said. Brita walked over at Daniel, looking into the mirror nearby the bay window behind all our beds, and tied it for him around his neck. After it was done, he checked himself in the mirror. "Thank you, miss. Henry, you got yourself a good one." He grinned. "I'm proud to have her as mine," I said happily. There we go, honey, Eleanor said, finishing tying Tim's blonde hair into a bun behind him. Tim felt his bun and then straightened his long leather jerkin over his white shirt. "Thank you, my love," Tim said. Eleanor wore an elegant red and black dress that flew down past her feet, and her long black hair was tied up in a tail. Her tan skin shined in the candlelight as the night cold wind howled against the ship's bay window. Tim spread his arms out. "How do I look?" "Like a sailor. Let's go, I'm hungry," Daniel said. We all laughed as we made our way to the red door. I opened the door with Brita hooked around my left arm, and we stepped through the door into the narrow hallway. As we passed by paintings, we came to the captain's door. Daniel knocked. "Come in," Marquis said through the door. Daniel opened it up, and all five of us flooded into the big dining room. The table was set with a white tablecloth spread about it, with blue plates in front of each chair with forks and knives. Wine glasses were in front of each plate, and in the center, in a line, was candles and silver holders aglow. Leaved wreaths were stacked in the rafters above with red ribbons. "Welcome to my cabin. Ladies, you look lovely this evening." Marquis smiled at Eleanor and Brita. They graciously bowed to him. "Thank you, Captain. What a gorgeous dining room this is," Brita said. "Quite splendid," Eleanor added. Merci. I actually had this costume made when I bought this ship," Marquis said. "Please, have a seat." I noticed the others hadn't arrived yet, so I assumed we would have to wait for them, and I knew Dan was not too happy about that, for his belly was grumbling furiously. I pulled the chair out in front of Brita, and she thanked me with a kiss and sat down next to me. I took my seat beside her and rested my hand on her right thigh on top of a purple fluffy dress. Tim did the same for Eleanor, and they sat next to each other while Dan took the seat next to Marquis. Marquis stood before us at the head of the table. "What type of wine would you all prefer?"
Here we go, boys.
Daniel grinned happy for the French wine. "Do you have any ale?" asked Brita. Not at the moment, but we can get some when we make next port," Marquis said. "I would like a white," Tim said. "As do I, sir." Eleanor smiled, and they giggled happily to each other and talked of vineyards and food. It made my heart cry with joy and almost made tears come to my eyes at all of my mates and my love all around me right now. For this was the first time in months we actually have gotten a decent meal and drink and spent real time with each other. "All right, 2 whites. Anyone else prefer a different grape?" Marquis asked.
I'll take a red,
Daniel said. "Red for me. Love, for you?" I asked her. A rosé would do it for me," Brita said. "Great. 3 colorful wines. Unfortunately, we are short of staff this evening with the drink deliveries, but the same chefs will be preparing the cuisine. I'll have to go down to the wine cellar. Anyone want to accompany me?" Marquis asked. No one really spoke, for I could tell they were all comfortably situated in the table dining seats. I raised my hand. "I'll go." "Perfect. Me and Henry will go to the cellar and pick out some lovely wines for all of you." "Be right back," Marquis said. "Henry, follow me." I stood up, scooting my chair from behind me, but before I could walk off, Brita took a hold of my shirt collar, pulled me down to her face, and kissed me hard. She pulled away and looked deep into my eyes. "There'll be more tonight," she whispered softly. I grinned. "I'll be back, my darling." I stood up and walked over to Marquis. We exited the dining hall into the hallway on the ship as it rocked side to side in the cold night wind. Marquis pulled an empty lantern from the wall off the hook and pulled out a box of matches. He flicked the match and opened the glass hatch with the black metal rails and lit the tiny stem on the candle. He blew out the match, closed the glass case, and held it ahead. I followed him down the hallway with the lantern being our only light. We took a right, and Marquis opened a hatch that squeaked open, and we descended down the dark steps into the hole. Once my boots hit the wood, Marquis gave the lantern a spread, and I could see the underroom was lined with casks full of wine bottles. "Big cellar," I said. "Oui, it's fairly big. This is where I keep most of my bottles, under the cool damp ship," he said. "Is it good to keep wine cold?" I asked as we walked down with the shelves of wine bottles on either side of us. The ship rocked into the dark waves, and we were under the ship, and I could hear the ship creak and groan in the water. "Sometimes. I prefer it cold rather than warm. Gives it more room to breathe," he said. We took a left down the cellar and came to a stop at the wall. Wine bottles were scattered randomly in the holes, and some were missing. He set the lantern on the hook. "Tim and Eleanor said white, right?" he asked. "Aye," I said. Marquis skimmed the shelf of bottles, looking for a perfect white to go with tonight's dinner. The last time we dined on the ship, I remembered Marquis speaking of a time with his father, that he owned his own winery in France. "Do you enjoy wine?" I asked. Marquis looked at me, his face only lit by the underglow of the lantern, but his face was shocked as if I asked a dumb question. He looked at me, and then back to the shelf. "Yes, I breathe it, my friend," he said, heaving out a white wine bottle. "Perfect." He unhooked the lantern, and we continued deep into the maze of casks. There were barrels stacked up on one wall, with giant corks in the hole. As we walked further, I asked, "Would you have rather been a winemaker than a captain?" Marquis stopped for a second, and then turned to me with the light. He frowned slightly. To be truthful, yes. I would rather be a winemaker," he said. We continued to walk. Why didn't you want to pursue it? You know a lot about wine." "I love wine, son. It is something that is such an art that half the world doesn't understand it. It's a complex drink. My father, when he owned his own winery, he was obsessed with it. The wine took over his life, and he drank too much, and one day it killed him. Liver poisoning. Found him dead in his bed one morning. Marquis said with a serious look, stopping at another shelf. You and Dan want red? Yes, I said. Marquis pulled out a red wine bottle, and we tracked back a bit to find the last one. I'm sorry about your father. I lost my father too, I said. Marquis looked at me in worry. How so? He hung himself when I was 17. I said, try not to think too hard on that tragedy. I'm sorry, Henry. He said, so is that the reason you didn't like to take up winemaking as a passion? I asked. Yes, I didn't want to turn into my father. So I took to the seas and became a capitan after some heavy plundering in the corridors in the Corta. I was able to secure enough payment to get my own ship and a crew to sail the seas. He said, I understand, I said. He didn't want to follow in his steps. Marquis scoffed. I didn't want to become a drinker. Brita wanted a pink, yes? Yes, she wanted a pink, I said. We continued down the cellar walls with the lantern glowing. So, when did you meet Brita? I'd have to say she's a sight. We stopped at the shelf as he searched for the pink wine. Yes, we met in Norway 2 years ago, around this time actually. Me and my mates held up in a tavern for some ale, and I saw her singing with a lute. Her voice was just magnificent, Marquis. We just fell in love with each other, I said. Good man, he said, yanking the wine bottle from crusted barnacles. Keep her. She loves you, Henry. She talked about you all the time on the way to getting you. She was worthy out of her mind. I smiled to myself knowing that she loved me that much, and I have never really had anyone else love me as much as she did other than my family. Did you ever have a lover? I asked the captain, and he stopped dead in his tracks. Once, he said, and continued to walk. Before I could ask another question, we made it to the steps and climbed back up. He closed the hatch and handed me the red and pink as he held the white. We walked down the hallway in silence, him putting the lantern back up. He placed his hand on the doorknob and looked at me. Got to put on a face. He snickered and swung the door open. We're back with some amazing bottles of wine for everyone. Everyone laughed happily. I rejoined Brita at my seat, and she kissed me on the lips. I gripped her hand as it rested on mine, as Marquis assembled a group of wine glasses that were curved on the stems. He popped the corks off each one. He grabbed the white wine first. The clear bottle with a white label spread about the front was a slim bottle with gold letters across it. Marquis displayed it as he stood at the head of the table. This is a exquisite bottle, is a Sovereign Blanc, a beautiful craft from the south of France and sweet. Timothy and Eleanor, you wanted this glass? Yes, sir, Eleanor said. Marquis walked over, leaned, and then softly poured the white wine liquid into each of the glasses. As he was finishing filling Timothy's glass, the door opened and in piled Finn and Jeb. Finn was wearing a blue puffy shirt that was long-sleeved down to his arms. His hand was adorned with a golden teal ring on his right, and his long tan pants was lapped over his leather boots. His long hair was in a ponytail. Marquis turned after pouring the white wine, and Tim took a sip of it happily. Serving wine without us, eh? Finn laughed. Finn, pleasure for you to join us. I am serving some wine before the appetizers arrive. What would you care for? Red is fine, Finn said. Good man, and you must be Jebediah Gold Rivers. Am I correct? Marquis asked. My name is Deputy One, Jeb said. Pleasure to meet a fellow captain on my ship. Marquis grinned, shaking his hand. Jeb wore a black shirt with a red overcoat adorning his body. His black pants stretched to his black boots, and his hair was down to his shoulders. His beard was trimmed short, a light scruff. Marquis and Jeb had been getting along wonderfully due to them being both captains of the ship, and they bonded well and understood the obediences of a crew aboard. Same to you, Jeb said. Would you care for a wine? Marquis questioned. You got rum? Jeb asked. Marquis frowned. Unfortunately, we do not carry rum. You're the ship and you don't even carry rum. How is that possible? Well, we French find art in the grape. Rum not really my taste, Marquis said. All right then. Well, I'm fine with the brandy, Jeb said. Marquis noted as Jeb and Finn took their seats. I didn't see Car anywhere, or Cortez. Marquis grabbed the pink. Of course, they did Provence for the lovely lady, and poured Brita her drink. Brita took a glass and sipped it, and a smile told me she enjoyed it. Finally, I read for the gentleman, a Chateau de Crux. Marquis smiled and poured me, Finn, Daniel, and himself that one. After that, Marquis made one of his servants fetch Jeb a glass of brandy. I swirled my red wine in the glass, watching it mix with the clear glass of the cup. I sniffed it, smelling bitter grape with a nutty flavor, and sipped it, curdling it between my teeth and swelling with satisfaction. Thank you for the drinks, Eleanor said to Marquis. My pleasure. How is the wine? The brandy, Jeb? The brandy, Jeb? He asked. We nodded for the wine was good, and Jeb nodded, sipping his brandy with joy. Where's Car? Daniel asked. He's with the other slaves, under the deck eating with them. He wanted to get to know them more, so he won't be attending the dinner tonight. I'm sorry, Marquis, Jeb said. Marquis put up his hand. No worries. Let the black man bond. Now, how about the toast before we eat? We all raised our glasses. Marquis, at the head of the table, pushing his long hair out of his face, raised his glass. To new friends, and a swift, safe journey to Spain. May we enjoy this meal tonight, Lord, and cherish the very essence of the coming days. We yelled happily and took a swig. I gulped my red wine and set the glass down before my blue plate. Marquis took his seat, and we sat silently sipping on our drinks until a black slave servant, dressed in white, pushed a silver cart into the room. He stopped by Marquis and lifted the top of the circle of silver. Before us were tiny plates of snails, steaming hot in their shells. I felt my belly rumble, for I had barely eaten all day and was craving for a good meal. The servant brought us each a plate, and Daniel smiled happily, picking up a snail and sucking the meat out of its shell. I picked up the warm shell and ate the lump of meat and crunched it in my mouth. Brita fiddled with it in a fork and moving it around a plate. Are you going to eat it? I asked Brita quietly. I'm unsure. I'm not favourable of snails. She gagged and I snickered slightly. Give it to Dan then, I said. Don't mind if I do. Dan picked up Brita's snail right after I said that statement and ate it quickly. We sat in silence for a bit, sipping wine and eating snails. Marquis informed us that Cortez would not be attending the dinner either due to him falling ill. He was lying up in his bed, sick as a dog, throwing up from seasickness. I guess some men can't handle the swishing of the ship all the time. Marquis leaned back in the head of his chair, holding his red wine. After we finished the appetizer, he burped, covered his mouth with a white lace napkin. So, where did you find these souls? He gestured to Finn and Jeb. I found them in a tavern called the Flaming Hall in Denmark. We were trying to recruit a crew, I said. I see. Other than the slave, it seems you only found 3 people. Marquis laughed. We met a lot more. They all died when we were enslaved. Daniel said seriously, and Marquis jolly, and the Frenchman stopped laughing and corrected his manner. I understand that. Well, before we get into the gritty talk of the letters, I'd like to know these new men aboard my prize vessel, if you don't mind. Marquis said, sipping on his red wine. Marquis set his glass down and leaned in on the white cloth table facing Finn. You, young man, I understand your name is Finn Inkspell? Why, sir, it is, Finn said. Where are you from, Finn? Marquis asked. Finn took a swig of wine, corrected his slumped posture in the wooden chair, scratched his head and spoke. I'm from Westminster, in England. Another Englishman. Marquis snickered but with good jest. I don't know where you gents keep popping up from. How did you get all the way to Denmark? I sneaked onto a vessel heading for that port. I wanted to get out of England and sail across the seas and explore the world, Finn said. I see. You know, sneaking onto a ship without applying for the crew is a treason and they are hanging, Marquis asked. I know that. I was never caught, clearly. Finn smiled a little. You got lucky, son, Daniel said, drinking his wine. The French captain, intrigued, leaned in more. Before you were a stowaway, what was your trade in Westminster? I was a bookstore owner. My father owned a library in Whitechapel, and so after that, and after he passed, I took care of it. I mainly got bored with the job and sold it, but I wasn't able to join any crew because I didn't have enough pay. That's why I stuck aboard and landed in Denmark, Finn said. Crafty young man, Tim said, drinking his wine and rested his arms across the top rim of Eleanor's chair, making her lean more into his chest. The question is, can I trust you aboard my ship? Marquis said seriously. Absolutely. Finn grinned. I love this young man's attitude. He always seemed to be cheerful and full of light. Any lassie would be lucky to be his lover. Glad to have you aboard. Marquis smiled, then turned his attention to Jeb, who had already finished his liquor. I've heard you were a captain of your own ship. What colors and sail did you fly under? Jeb's face darkened a bit, but he answered calmly. I was the captain of a ship called the Dauntless from Finland. So, you're Finnish, Marquis smiled. I like you already. Jeb didn't make an effort to smile at the comment, but continued. Yes, I'm from Finland. Always wanted to sail across the European seas. I bought a ship, a crew, and we sailed happily for years. I see. But you don't have your own ship now. What is your loyal crew? Marquis questioned. Jeb's face darkened even more to a shade of purple. My crew were in hell. They mutinied against me one night. They weren't accepting of my methods as a captain. Me and my few loyal mates, we were tossed aside into a rowboat and we rowed to Denmark, for we were close to that port. Marquis looked appalled. My name is Im. If there is one thing I hate, it is an unloyal crew. I'm sorry, Jebediah. No need for your pity. I had it coming. To be honest, I wasn't a good I wasn't as good of a captain as I thought. Trying to be a better one, Jeb said. Is Carl one of your crewmen? Marquis asked. Aye. Him and there were two others, but they were killed when we were arrested in the Dutch colony. He frowned. Marquis nodded, tapping his fingers on the table. I'm sorry to hear that sad story. My sincere apologies, Captain. May I wish they are safe in heaven. Let's pray, Jeb said. Why do they call you Jeb Gold? Marquis asked. Because of his teeth, Tim said. Jeb smiled and half of his teeth glittered gold. Marquis nodded and Jeb closed his mouth. How did you get that? Brita asked Jeb. Musket to the face. Knocked half my teeth out. Jeb said, and Brita looked at me in a face of worry. I assured her, resting my hand on her hand. Soon the servants brought us a plate full of lamb, drizzled with a caramel sauce, paprika, and rosemary. We all ate happily, slicing the knives through the meat on the bone and shoveling it into our mouths, tasting sweet and sour. Daniel scoffed his down while the ladies lightly picked at it but were happy with the taste, delicately dabbing their lips with the napkins on their laps. Marquis chewed through his meat as Finn and Jeb had their drinks refilled and they slurped it. Marquis wiped his mouth with his napkin. Now that we are past the pleasantries, I want to hear exactly what happened after I left you three. He aimed his knife at me, Dan, and Tim. After I left you at the Denmark port. I took a scoop of potatoes and chewed through the skin, salt and pepper popping on my tongue. Brita looked at me wanting to hear the story, for I hadn't told her the full details of what had happened. Me, Dan, Tim, Jeb, and Finn all gave each other an eye, for we had truly bonded over this incident and it brought us closer as men. I leaned back in my chair, taking my glass of red wine, took a slab, tossed it between my teeth, and figured I needed to speak first. After you left us, me, Dan, and Tim found us an inn to stay in and some new clothing. After that, we needed to find us a crew, a mighty crew, and a ship like we said to set sail. I said. Daniel burped. We found a tavern and met these two. Finn, Jeb, and Ka, and the two other men with them. William Stanley and Abe Crowley. Hearing those two names made Jeb's face fill with fire. I shot the barkeep because he wouldn't serve us because I was Finnish. We met Henry and his mates. We made a deal for the Mermaid. And the Dutch Inquisition stormed in and we took on about 12 guys in the bar. Jeb said. Brita's eyes widened and she eyed me in amazement and shock. I met her eyes for a second and then continued. We were beaten, slapped with iron, and thrown in the jailed carriage. Luckily, Tim, Abe, and Ka and Will had escaped before us four were arrested. This is the Dutch Inquisition, right? Marquis asked. What's the Dutch Inquisition? Brita asked. The Dutch Inquisition is the Dutch colony's funded army in the company in order of Governor Van der Verlede, Tim added. I know him, Marquis said, a man who cares about nothing but himself. Correct, sir, Finn noted. Did they take you to him? Marquis asked. Yes, Finn broke in. We were chained in front of a court of people in a judge's courtroom. The witnesses lied about our doings and actions, and they knew about our plan with the mermaid and wanted the location of the said mermaid and to profit from it. Profit? Brita asked. Aye, they knew the gravity of such a discovery and wanted all the gold to themselves, so they wanted to lock us away forever, Daniel said. Well, did you give them the location? Marquis asked, his temple throbbing worried. No, we did not, Tim said. Soon they found Tim, Ka, and Will, and they had killed Abe. They found us guilty of piracy on the seas and enslaved us to work on the castle walls of the governor's household, I said. My goodness, Eleanor added. My dear, she rested her hand on Tim's shoulder. Brita gripped my hand tighter. Did they even listen to you? Marquis asked. No, Jeb continued. Not a word. What happened? What happened after that? The French captain asked, intrigued by our story. We worked on the castle walls with big rocks, slaving away in the heat, the cold, the rain, and the wind, barely surviving on food and water. Many men died from the wall, and we lost our friend William. He was tortured for the location of the Mermaid and hung on display for everyone else to see. Jeb frowned, tears almost spilling out of his pupils. How did you escape? Rita asked. Jeb's slave gave us secret notes, and with some help in the household from other slaves and a few workers, we managed to get a hold of Marquis, who was still in the bay, I said. Then me and Cortez and my mighty French crew broke these lucky bastards out. Marquis smiled. Damn right, we all laughed, cheering. What are the people in the household that enslaved you? Brita asked. We killed them and burned the place down, I said. Brita looked at me, was shocked, for she didn't know me as a killer or a man being able of those actions. But she didn't judge me and kissed my lips at the table. After our discussion about the colony, for dessert, we were brought white wedding cake and we picked at it with forks. As we ate the cakes, Marquis said, Should we discuss Portugal? Yes, we should, I said. Miss Brita and Miss Eleanor, you may need to exit the room, for what we are about to discuss is a bit of a harsh terms. Marquis worried. I stopped him. Anything said before me can be said before her. Brita grinned and Marquis hesitated but went on. We spent the next hour talking about our detailed plan and what to do when we arrive in Spain, and our motives and moves for our plan of actions for the first little mark. After our talk, we all said goodnight, thanked the French captain for the dinner servings, and we exited the dining room to head back to our rooms. But then Jeb went back to speak with Carr about what had happened at dinner and to fill him in on the plan, and Marquis went off to find Cortez for the same. Me, Dan, Tim, Eleanor, and Brita stumbled down the hallway to our room. All of us were half drunk and our eyes glassy and swirly. Come on, lads, let's dance the night away. Daniel hooted in drunken laughter. We walked past the opening that led up to the top deck. Brita held my arm to stop me. Might me and Henry have a moment alone? She asked. Oh, what about the dancing? Tim laughed and kissed Eleanor, who giggled. The dancing can wait. You can start with Alice. We'll join you in a bit, I said. Daniel stumbled over and slung his arm around me. Henry, my friend, if you're going to fuck her tonight, make sure to... Master Daniel, I would oblige you to not speak of that, Brita said. Daniel stopped speaking, patted my chest with his big hand, and pulled away. You're on your own. Good luck, my lad. I don't want to get on that woman's angry side. You better hurry then, Tim said. I will, I laughed. The three of them walked off down the hall to our room, while me and Brita ascended the steps into the cold air of the night on the deck. She had her arm hooked around me as we walked to the edge of the ship and gazed out on the night starry sky with twinkling dots of stars and the dark waters churning under the hull. The helmsman steered the ship ahead, smoking a burning pipe. Brita slid her hand into mine and we gazed out to sea. It had been a while since we had gotten time to ourselves and was soothing and calming together. Tiny snow flurries danced down from the dark sky onto our heads, and the deck leaving a light coast of frost. Brita turned to me. I got you something. You got me something, I asked her. She giggled and pulled from her dress a long, narrow navy box. I looked at her confused. I took it from her. Merry Christmas, my love, she smiled. I opened the box and my heart jumped with amazement. Inside the navy box was a long silver blade with a firm golden hilt. It was pure iron steel and was as sharp as a coral reef. I dropped the box and picked up the sword. I felt it in my hand. It felt firm and steady as I swung it in jabbing thrusts away from Brita. I pulled out my old sword, dropped it to the deck, and slipped my new one into it. I leaned in and kissed her over the bitter wind. Thank you, my love, I smiled. It's a great gift, and I will use it well. I also have something for you. Brita's eyes sparkled. I reached into my trench coat and pulled out a flute. It was carved from cypress wood, with 8 holes lining the top and carved in a curved tip, with a smile of a hole to put your mouth on. Brita smiled widely and took it. She blew into the instrument, creating a few magical notes and giggled with glee. Where did you acquire this? She wondered. A week ago, I bought it off these merchants that had sailed by us. You like it? I asked. I do. I love instruments and music. Thank you, she cried and kissed me happily. I laughed as we kissed, and I wrapped my arms around her fluttering dress as the wind blew softly against our faces. We pulled away and stared off at the sky for a bit, my arm wrapped around her. Do you remember when we first met? She asked me, looking towards me, her red hair blowing to the side like fire. I laughed happily. How could I forget? I thought you were so handsome. she said. And I thought you were a talented musical lady, I smiled. You didn't even know how to play the lute. You were struggling so much. She giggled. I know, but you thought a ship was a big wooden home where all sailors just live. I laughed. I'm glad I met you. Looks like fate brought us together. She grinned and kissed me passionately. After a while of us kissing and sitting in silence, just enjoying each other's company, we hurried down the deck and into our room to see Daniel playing the fiddle. Tim was twirling Eleanor around, and Anastasia was dancing around the room. Daniel's eyes beamed with light. Henry, Brita, glad you could join us. Swing a little. I took Brita's hand and brought her to the center of the yellow carpeted room. I spun her round and round next to Tim, and placed my hands on her waistline and hips as she spun, her purple dress fluttering in a candle and moonlight through the bay window. I met her eyes, and for the very first time, I felt in my heart love for this woman, true love from my beating red heart. I tapped my boot on the planks while she tapped her feet to the music as Daniel slung the fiddlestick against the strings, creating musical magic. Me and my mates, along with my love, danced the night away in merry moods, and I couldn't be a more happier man in my entire life.
There we go. That was chapter 14 and 15. So obviously a lot of intense stuff happened before that, so I kind of wanted to give like a little excerpt of kind of calm down kind of stuff, like more of a happier time, because it was just like constant enslavement and then like action. So yeah, that is one of my favorite like conversations, like just kind of like the Christmas scene in general. It's just, I don't know, I just kind of think it's nice. But I really enjoyed doing the stream. It was really fun. I always like doing these streams. Yeah, I think what was your favorite part in the 2 chapters?
I'm waiting on the comments. Ooh, I'm tired, my guys. I'm so tired, lads.
But yeah, it's always fun doing these kind of streams. It's just all of it. The Christmas stuff was cute. I will admit there's a few like lines of dialogue that I feel like is kind of cringy, but I just I put it in there just for the amusement and the cuteness. But I really enjoyed the Christmas stuff too. But yeah, it's just like kind of like a lovely merry scene, I guess. It's just very nice and peaceful. So I will be doing another stream tomorrow, probably during the daytime, like late morning or afternoon. It would just be of chapter 16 strictly. And then yeah, that's it, because they go to they go to Spain. So yeah, so if you notice, it's been 1680 for like, we're on page 400 now. So it's been 1680 this entire time. So now when they go to Spain, it's finally 1681. Full year has passed. And I wanted to do that because I wanted to make it that long in the year of 1680 to make you feel like, because you go through a whole year from January to literally the whole month. Just like, it's insane. Like, you go through the whole month, the whole year of 1680. And I wanted to make it like the book long to make it feel like you're going through the year with them. And so I think I did that well, I guess. Just going through that long a book took 400 pages to get through 1680. So I just wanted to give it kind of that lengthy feel of like feeling like you're going through an entire year in a way, like making it feel like more realistic to time. But now it's the next part is they're going to Spain, 1681. So yeah, I really I really hope you guys liked it. Make sure to I'm yawning. Make sure to like the stream and subscribe to become a jack lantern, and remember to like those lanterns. And thank you so much for joining the stream. As always, I always love doing live streams. It's just really nice and soothing to just sit here and listen to music, audiobooks, talk about anything, really just anything, just chilling together. It's very nice. But tomorrow, chapter 16 will be it will be live streamed tomorrow sometime during the day. And I'm very excited to do that. So I will see you guys in the next stream for tomorrow. So thank you for joining. And I hope you guys have a good night and get ready for Spain.